Trade rumors are escalating as multiple reports have linked the Rangers to a young superstar in the league, with his preferred destination being New York. We're going to break all of that down and what it means to the Rangers and their future. But before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you now watching our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. Yesterday, we touched on Ryan Lindgren filing for arbitration and, of course, what that may mean with a second buyout window. But today, we're getting back to the trade market and trade talk. And before we dive into it, do I think this is going to happen in relatively short order? Probably not, but it's a very interesting prospect to dive into. And honestly, the prospect of this trade does get me a little excited. And the Rangers, obviously would welcome this player, and this player, of course, I'm talking about is Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks. Now, the salary cap structure is a little off, but I think that they can maybe make this work, maybe trading somebody older away, but we'll get into it in just a moment. All right. So obviously this report came out with the Rangers being reportedly among multiple teams. I've seen from numerous different insiders and reports that there are multiple teams in on this, expressing interest in acquiring Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks. And of course, the Anaheim Ducks picked 3rd overall in this year's NHL entry draft and have a lot of young talent coming up. So I wonder if they would be looking to shed this player. Not shed him, but maybe move on from him, go a little bit younger. Again, in their ever-going rebuild. But from the article, in addition to New York, the Buffalo Sabres, Calgary Flames, Chicago Blackhawks, Montreal Canadiens, Nashville Predators, Ottawa Senators, and Philadelphia Flyers, so quite a few teams, are expressing interest in other teams could be in the mix as well. With the crowded market, Anaheim general manager Pat Verbeek has set a high price. So there is definitely a high price set on Trevor Zegras. We knew this would probably be the case, but this has been confirmed, and trade talks will likely escalate ahead of Friday's NHL draft. This is a little bit older, but reports have been steadily coming out over the last couple days, and even go back as far as February of this year. All right, Trevor Zegras being linked to the Rangers. So some interesting stuff for sure with Zegras, but potentially coming to New York. And again, this is from Louis too, and another great article from Anthony. Report from Anthony, who got the initial report from David Pagnotta. The Rangers are one of 8 teams to have expressed serious interest in Trevor Zegras, according to the 4th period, David Pagnotta. Not sure what a deal might look like, but you have to think either Kakko or Hedl or the 30th overall. But of course, they kept the 30th overall pick would be the offer. Now, Kakko would be interesting because Kakko underperformed big time. We'll get into Zegras' stats so we can kind of compare. Zegras didn't have the best season either. He was also injured, but half a point a game player, not bad at all. And that's probably what he's going to be for his career. Maybe a little bit more than that. It takes up a lot of ice time as well as usage is up. Power play guy, wonder if he could fit in on the power play. The Rangers power play, even if it's the second unit, he's still very young, only 24. He's about the same age as Kaapo Kakko anyway. So that could be an interesting idea for Kaapo Kakko as well, right? And then there's Hedl as well, who also was injured last year, got into a couple playoff games, but if you're trading, Hedl brings a skill set a little bit different than Zegras. Zegras is like just all skill, right, and scoring and playmaking ability, which is great, right? Like if you want to add more to that, more of that to the lineup, that's great. I don't think that's exactly what the Rangers need to add when you're looking at how they can be successful next season to win a Stanley Cup. It's more like grit and guys who've proven it, guys who've been in the playoffs can not only score and make plays, but when the going gets tough, persevere, right? That the Rangers need more of those players. But anyway, Trevor Zegras has had the New York Rangers on his preferred destination, for a long time, and that's from Peter Baugh, who I love too. He does a lot of great work, and we've been using him in the videos as well. He covered the prospect camp and all that, so pretty reliable source. That doesn't mean Trevor Zegras is going to come to New York, but he has had the Rangers on his preferred destination list for a while. This is from Linda as well. I'd also make the call to Anaheim with the right players around him and coaching staff. Trevor Zegras could develop and add much needed depth as a 3rd line center and on the power play, still young and can make plays. And that's the thing. If he were to come to New York, which I think is pretty interesting, he would probably be on the 3rd line. right? Just to start and probably get that kick started. Maybe you move him up a little bit, but he can, kind of slot into the center position there and grow. And like I've mentioned in the past, I think the Rangers have a little bit of a hard time developing young players. But Zegras has been in the league for a few years now. Seems like he's adjusted pretty well. He's putting up pretty decent numbers on a bad team. So if you were to move him over to a President Trophy winner team, right, he might have something to say. He might be able to put up more points. He might, arrive per se in the league, more so than he already has, except for the skill moves and all that stuff. But very interesting for sure. And this is not, the most reliable source, but I'd say that the New York Rangers are the front runners to land Zegras. If anyone, there's already been confirmed preliminary pieces put together involving Trouba, Kakko, Robertson, and picks. There could also be a lower end of this that results in Vetrano as well, which Vetrano would be not bad. Good depth option as well. The Rangers have tried that, right, in the past. But, could be a welcome addition again back to the team, depending on the role, right? Depending on the role, because the Rangers do need to fill out a little bit of their bottom six as well. There's a lot of, guys filled in on projected lineups I've seen that are just kind of like, from Hartford, right? There's just guys being brought up. We don't know exactly how Othman's going to perform, for example, right? So Zegras would be more of a guaranteed piece there. And again, Mickey 8 Rangers was saying that Zegras is confirmed coming to the Rangers, and let's not get, ahead of ourselves too. It's not done yet. There haven't been, too many insiders reporting it, but there is some smoke there. So when there's smoke, there's some fire. But first rule of Rangers Twitter, never listen to this dude. I thought that was funny from Rangers Mafia. But if we go back to Trevor Zegras' stats, I mean, still absolutely young, right? He's only going to be 24 this season. Great usage on an Anaheim Ducks team that's not great. He can fit in on the Rangers' second power play, even the first if they want to switch the lines around, right? Because the power play wasn't great toward the end of the season in that series against the Florida Panthers, although nothing was really clicking. But again, didn't really play much last year. He was a half-point-a-game player. Zegras also has a cap hit of 5.75 for the next 2 seasons, which ends in the 25-26 season, so around the same time as Jacob Trouba's contract. But if you're able to offload Jacob Trouba before then, or maybe a different contract, you also have to keep in mind that Igor Shesterkin is going to command a lot of money, which is going to be very interesting to see how Chris Drury navigates that as well. So keep that in mind. He does make a pretty significant amount of money, almost $6 million a year. I think this guy is just waiting to break out with better teammates and a better structure because the Ducks have not figured it out, right? So I think, it's interesting. I look at this player as somebody who wouldn't mind moving on. And I mean, there is lots of interest, right? There's a high price for this player, but there is definitely interest. And, the Ducks, I think, could benefit from some veteran leadership. So I wonder if the Rangers can make a deal with them where they give up a pretty significant piece, right? An older piece in return for Trevor Zegras, because I think the Ducks, right, they have a lot of young players. They could be looking for, somebody who can make a difference, but also add some leadership, right, qualities. And I'm not saying Zegras doesn't bring that to the table, but he's still young. And the Rangers acquiring a talent like Zegras, like I said, doesn't really put them over the top in terms of playoffs and winning a Stanley Cup. Not necessarily that one piece, but I think he's very dynamic. He can add a lot to that forward group. And like I said, there's a lot of place fillers right now in the mock lineups I've seen heading into next season. So pretty interesting. I'm not saying it's going to happen, right? But there is some smoke. Sounds like the Rangers are kicking tires on that, as well as other teams. Maybe he ends up somewhere else, right? But could be an interesting fit for the New York Rangers. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.